Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Shameless in Chicago. This is your host, Nin.
And I'm Luke, and I look like the Kool-Aid man.
No. You know what Luke looks like? He looks like a strawberry dipped in strawberry chocolate milk.
Yeah, I went to Arizona last weekend, and I grossly misjudged the strength of the Arizona sun. It was 77 degrees, and I'm paying the price for it one skin flake at a time.
Yeah, Luke is completely red. If you guys can't see this on YouTube, he is red. And he's also a ginger, so that doesn't help. And he's also wearing a light pink shirt, so that really does not help.
Thank you for painting a picture, Nin.
I'm here for the storytelling.
Oh, yes. I didn't even think of the word sunscreen. Really pissed me off that
Sunscreen or sun scream?
I'm sun
because
screaming.
You're in pain.
Yeah, I'm sun screaming. It really pisses me off that I can't sleep.
Yeah, he couldn't even put on his jacket today, guys.
And if you know where we live, it's so cold.
Yeah, he's struggling out here. But yeah, so today, on today's episode, guys.
On today's episode, we're going to talk about how I dove into my new TikTok addiction. And I see a lot of things that really annoy me.
Like what?
Well, you get those fake families, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You get people posting animals that my cat's dying, my dog's dying. But I really hate seeing how many videos there are for people dressing up as veterans and impersonating veterans, active duty soldiers, whatever, to get discounts or special treatment. It makes me feel so icky because they get caught up and then you see it in their faces that they're like, oh, I'm going on the internet.
Yeah,
I can't
guys.
stand it.
Yeah, so on today's episode, we're going to be talking about what pisses you off.
TikTok edition.
Dun, dun, dun. So yeah, Luke has really been into this whole TikTok thing. If you guys haven't followed him, go ahead and follow him at...
And I'm Luke.
And you guys can watch all of his TikToks of drowning the whale. Hashtag
Drown the Whale.
Yes.
You can also see some clips of my three-legged cat if that's more your fancy.
Yeah, no, it's really good. So yeah, we're gonna talk about what pisses us off, and Luke is gonna go ahead and get us started about.
Yeah, I can't stand. Well, you know what? I'll say I love stolen valor videos because I love seeing these people get caught up. It's almost the same as like seeing Chris Hansen pull aside a predator, saying, "Hey, you just fucked up."
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me. So I was never affiliated with the military. I've had military family. I'm dating a veteran, and I'll show him these videos and instantly you see it on their face. They're saying, no, this patch is missing. This card's missing over here. They have no idea where they're supposed to be. It's like once they get caught, they're in deer in headlights mode. It's almost as if like, they're like, oh, what have everything I've done is wrong. But some people will just like stalk these stolen valor perpetrators through stores as they just fill up and everything. And once they get to the counter, they'll be like, excuse me, sir, you need to show your ID before you get your veterans discount.
Yeah.
And they get, oh, I don't have it. And it's so satisfying to see them just fail.
Yeah. I feel like that's so disrespectful.
It is. But people out here are really doing the work.
No, and I'm so glad people are doing the work. One thing that people don't do the work for, though, is these Psychology Says TikToks.
Oh, my God. Are you telling me that TikTok is not full of doctors that have my best interests at heart?
No, and it like irks my soul. It pisses me off so much every single time I see a Psychology Says, and it's like an AI voice.
Oh.
Those ones irk me. But every time I see those, I'm like, if we don't know these are fake by now, then I'm sorry, there's something wrong with you. The other ones that piss me off is when people are like, I have a PsyD, a PhD, a master's in psychology. And I'm just like, okay, cool. And then their like pinned video is saying what they have a PsyD, PhD, or a master's in. And somebody literally said, I have a PsyD in love and relationships. I'm like, that's not a thing.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That's not a real thing?
No, it's not a real thing.
So
how can you just explain to me how you can get a degree in love? If love is the one thing that nobody really understands.
I don't know. I thought it was at least people were really that confident, huh?
People are really that confident. Yes. And I, went down a rabbit hole and this girl has like all these things about like love and like if you're in a relationship and it's like bullshit. Okay. First of all, you don't even have a PsyD in that. Okay. You're not a doctor. Okay. Because there's no such thing as a PsyD in love and relationships. You can get one in couples and family counseling. That is legit. You can do couples, which is the relationship piece, but there's no love in there, right? Because not all relationships love each other. So how are you going to do that?
Now, have you found any like particular probably poster that you've seen that could be an offender of such?
What do you mean?
Has there been a specific creator on TikTok or anything that you've seen that has just been kind of peddling out some horse shit?
Oh, I know. There's one creator that I tried to look her up on TikTok, but she's not on TikTok anymore.
Do you think she got caught?
I feel like she might have gotten caught because she had one thing that was interesting, but everything else, like my friend Sarah would always like send me TikToks. She would send them to me and be like, hey, can you verify this? Can you verify this? And then like some of them, my friend Sarah is very smart, mashallah. And some of the things she'd be like, this one sounds legit. Can you verify this? And I would listen to it and I'm like, no, this is so outwardly false that I don't even know how to tell you. Like, it's so false. And like, I'm going to teach you guys how to know if something on TikTok is false.
Oh, good. Because I feel like these AI generated videos are getting a lot smarter and they're a lot harder to kind of differentiate between the true things.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to teach you guys how you can start to spot these. Psychology says.
What's the number one thing you look out for?
Is it researchable?
Okay.
Can I research this?
How would you research something? If I was to throw you a fake psychology fact, what would be your first step?
So if you were to throw me a fake psychology fact, I'm going to look at it. If it says psychology says, okay, so psychology is a field of study and they are researching. Can I research this? Okay. When somebody loves you, their pupils dilate. Okay. Love is a strong word. Love is not researchable. So already there, I'm kind of hesitant. However, when somebody likes you or is interested in you, maybe I'll start to look into it more. But then the final straw, the real one where you know it's legit, is when somebody finds you attractive, their pupils dilate. Now that is researchable because there's a lot of scientific research on how you rate attractiveness and how your body starts to shift. Your heart starts pumping faster. You will start salivating and your pupils will dilate. So when you have these things, and then when it says psychology says when somebody finds you attractive, their pupils dilate, that is researchable and that can be a proven fact.
Now I'm stuck on the salivating thing. Are you telling me that it's psychologically proven that I need to be drooling over these hoes?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. Yes.
So it sounds like psychology is a lot like HR, where the wording matters on every absolute little thing.
Every little thing, the wording matters.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's a helpful tip. At least I know if it's been studied, it's psychology.
Yeah, exactly. And then another thing that I think is very outward is it researchable for a large group of people?
Yeah, no, one of my favorite facts of life is that all of your psychological studies and health studies are done on healthy mid-level white people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
typically.
I don't take that as a very big testing pool because you're not adding in enough diversity. Diversity does matter when it comes to medical purposes, does it not?
Yeah, it matters for everything. But the thing is that research is no longer quote unquote credible unless it was a groundbreaking one after 10 years. So
after 10 years, what do you mean after 10 years?
So after 10 years, if a researcher is doing something and they're citing their sources and they're doing literature reviews, it has to be within a 10-year period, maybe even 15 if we're pushing it. But overall, like 10 years is the max, unless it's a groundbreaking one, like the Stanford prison experiment.
Oh, we love that one.
You can cite that one because it was a groundbreaking one. The Bobo doll experiment.
We love that one as well.
Also groundbreaking. Another thing with these experiments, you have to look at the ethicality of it before the IRB came into play. The IRB is the Institutional Review Board, and they're looking at, is your research study ethical? And if somebody says psychology says this, and you're like, is that even ethical to study on people? Then it's probably, and if you're questioning it, then it's probably not ethical, and it was not ruled by the IRB. Therefore, the research never went through.
Oh, well, I wonder how much research is lost due to unethical practice.
Yeah. But if we look at the Stanford prison experiment, that would today not be allowed. It's unethical. The Bobo doll experiment, also unethical.
Is it really? Is it because it causes long-term psychological trauma in children?
Does it?
The Bobo doll?
Yeah.
if it's going to scare them like that for the rest of their lives.
But was there research done on afterwards? Were they scared for the rest of their
You're the
lives?
psychologist. You should be telling me.
There's so much research out there, guys. And you have to look at who's researching it too. Like, not every single person can research the topic that they're in. Like, you have to have a degree in it to research it, you know, type of thing. Like, I can't come in and research relationships or like families. I can't research families because that's not my field of study. That's not what I have a master's in, right? And even if I were to go get a PhD, I wouldn't do families. Like, that's not my topic of interest. So I'm not going to go research families because I don't have a degree in that. And families have a different theory than relationships. That's a different theory. Those are different theorists. Children, all of
because
these.
families can be a unit even if there's no relationship, right?
Yeah. So every field of psychology has different theorists, right? And so, for example, like the most famous one is Freud.
I hate Freud.
I love Freud.
I hate Freud. He's a hack
He is the father of psychology.
who refused his own teachings or practices or beliefs or whatever, what have you, on himself because he didn't want to be seen as holding a phallic object in his mouth.
Superiority complex, what can I say? But Freud is the most famous, and Freud's teachings and his theories are for individuals, right? And then we have Carl Whitaker. He is a family theorist, and he's very popular in family psychology. And I'm not going to apply Carl Whitaker's teachings if I'm just talking to an individual, you know, and you have to really dissect because everybody's different. I mean, there's some things that you can like blanket, like CBT, you can do that on a family and an individual, but every field has its own theorists because they're interested in it. This is their field. And theorists, they don't just pop out of nowhere and they're like, I have a theory. You're noticing a pattern is what's going on.
Right. They're putting to practice a study.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I noticed this pattern and this is what's going on. And this is what I think would best help it.
I just realized CBT meant correctional behavior therapy.
Cognitive behavioral
whatever.
therapy.
Whatever.
Oh, that's another thing I think would be interesting to talk about is that when you're finding a therapist, finding out their approach and how they approach their clients.
I like an aggressive approach, honestly. I had a therapist. I had my gay therapist. I love my gay therapist. However, it was a very patient-driven conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I am one to withhold information at all costs. I want someone who will poke and prod and drag what they need out of me to make me better.
Mm-hmm. But what is it that you want them to poke? Your childhood or your current life?
I want them to poke everything about me.
Okay, so then you're looking for a psychodynamic.
Oh, wow. It sounds really intense.
And you know who does psychodynamic?
Who?
Freud.
No!
Freud is the founding father of psychodynamic counseling. Yeah.
I become what I hate. Give me a cigar.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So there's different schools of thought. So you have CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. You have psychodynamic, and you have strengths-based therapy. You have narrative therapy. You have so many different types of therapy, and not one is better than the other. The reason why CBT is popular is because it's the one that insurance companies push for because it is researchable. And they found that like people who engage in CBT are pretty much done within 12 to 20 sessions, and insurance companies don't want to pay for more than that. But something like psychodynamic is the one that's going to ask you about your childhood. They are the ones that want to figure out where it all began and then work their way towards to where you are today. This can take a while. This can take a year and more. And it's going to take you some time. And this is the one where it's not researchable. You can't research it. And insurance companies don't want to pay for a year worth of therapy, but they are now because they found that, oh, it's a lot cheaper than prescribing you medication.
Those bastards.
So
Give me my Zoloft back.
oh my gosh. So yeah, that's psychodynamic. And then you have strengths based. So these are the therapists that are going to ask you like, what are you good at? What's something that you find yourself excelling in? And then let's hone in on these skills. And then let's take these skills and develop them in ways that will make you feel better. Like if you're a depressed client and you come in and you're like, I'm bad at this and everything's just going wrong. What are you good at? Oh, I'm good at making people feel happy together. Okay, well, where can you go that makes you feel happy? Oh, I feel happy when I'm in school. Okay, cool. Would you want to be like a teacher's assistant? And then just really emphasize those strengths. That's what a strengths-based therapist would do. A narrative therapist is not going to guide you. They are the people that will not be picking and prying, which is something that you said you wanted. But a narrative therapist is going to be exactly what it sounds like. You're narrating your story.
So it sounds like I was at a narrative approach on my therapist.
If they weren't picking and prying, then probably.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Well, knowing that, I wish a therapist would advertise their selections.
They do.
Oh, do they?
They do, yeah.
Oh, well, I need to read better.
Yeah, you read it in their bio. We're told we have to put it in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So a narrative therapist is just going to be like, so what brings you in today? And then you're going to be like, oh, well, you know, a little sad.
I will instantly shut down. I will not answer that question. I say, what will bring you in here today?
How would your therapist start off your sessions? What would they say?
So it would pretty much be like that. I know I did telehealth, and then I did one in-person visit, and after that I was done because that's when the December season ended or the winter season ended, and my depression was gone magically.
So sad.
But, you know, I got placed on a couch. You know, I had a choice to lay down or sit. I sat, and I had a nice view of the train going by the CTA. Mm-hmm. He sat down. He had a pillow he held up against him, and it felt like we were at a sleepover.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really more of well, at that point we had known each other a little bit more, so he did have some questions to ask, but they were really more just kind of follow-ups, or how did you feel since our last session?
Yeah.
How did you feel after your session? Have you had any thoughts of this or that since our last session? Mm-hmm. And it would just be kind of questions to have me, you know, just speak my mind when I really want questions of what happened here and how did it affect you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe I want a hypnotist. I don't know. Do you have much thought of those hypnotherapists?
Hypnotherapists? Yeah,
is that really a accredited field of psychology or therapy, or what do you think?
I don't really know. I did take a class for I forgot what it was called. Oh, paranormal. And the hypnosis was under the paranormal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my professor had written an entire book, and he's actually like a world renowned, and he thinks it's all bullshit.
Oh.
He does. He thinks hypnosis, you know, as a student, you're only as good as your professor, and you're going to take what your professor teaches you because you only hear one side of the story. But when we talked about hypnosis, that one was interesting because it's good for you or it's not, but it only depends on how good the clinician is and how much the client believes in it. If I were to be put under hypnosis, I would call bullshit no matter how good my clinician is. But if you believe it and your clinician is really good at it, then you might get somewhere.
So you're telling me that my insurance would be paying for
your insurance will not be paying for it.
Oh, so you're telling me that I'm going to be paying out of pocket for a placebo therapy session?
I mean, it might be placebo for some people, but it might be really helpful for some people. But it's only as good as the client and the clinician, right? If I don't believe in it and my clinician is half-assing it, we're not getting anywhere. But if you believe in it and your clinician is really good, that's great. But likely they're not going to bill as hypnosis therapy. They're going to bill it as something else.
Can I just say, I love how you were able to go on for like 16 minutes on this entire subject.
Oh, I'm so passionate about it.
I love it.
But it sounds like your therapist was very narrative therapist, and it's narration. You're narrating your story, and he wanted you to tell your story.
Right.
And with narrative therapy, I feel like it is very on the surface because it's only one side of the story. It's like, tell me what happened and tell me like what happened as you were going through it. But it's never like deeper than that. It's never like narrative therapists won't ask about people behind the scenes. Well, how did your mom react to when she found out you were gay? And in turn, how did that affect you? I, as a psychodynamic, is going to ask that question. But as a narrative, they are not going to ask you that question because it's your story.
And would you consider yourself psychodynamic?
I'm a psychodynamic and CBT therapist.
Psychodynamic girly here.
Yeah, I'm very passionate. And then you have solution focused. Solution focused therapists are so funny. I love them.
Do they find the most simplest thing and they're like, do this?
No. So solution focused therapists are the therapists that will ask you as the client, what brings you in? Why are you starting therapy? My husband sucks and I'm trying to get out of this marriage. Okay, cool. Now we have two options. Either you're going to work on this marriage or you're going to divorce him. It's in either or. There's no middle. Okay. So a solution focused therapist is going to ask about your progress every week as to how close you are to getting to your goal. And if you're not any closer, they will get up and they will open the door and they will be like, you can leave because you're wasting our time. And this approach is good because it is good for the clients that just need that fire under their ass. You know, I need somebody to lead me in the right direction. I need somebody who's not going to like play the field. They're just really like going to put me in my place. And that's when you would need a solution focused therapist. If you're somebody that's very like wishy-washy and it's like some days I'm like this and other days I'm like this.
I just want to say that a solution-based therapist sounds like someone I would need to seek therapy after seeing. Because I cannot imagine being put under the stress of making a decision, paying to be forced to make a decision. I don't know if I could do that to myself. They sound scary.
My coworker is a solution-focused therapist, and I love her. Like, the stories she tells me of how she conducts therapy is like, I'm like, oh my God, that's so crazy. Like, she'll literally be like, okay, why are you telling me this? Because you told me this last week.
No, I'm a story repeater.
No. If like they're engaging in the same behavior, it's like, why haven't you improved?
Oh my God, that's worse.
Yeah. So it's like, I drank 6 beers last week. Okay, what's your goal for next week? I'm going to drink 5. And then they come back next week. I drank 6. Okay, then why are you telling me again? Like, why didn't you drink the 5? What's wrong with you? In a much kinder way.
I want the one that makes it blunt. What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, but listen, she has the clientele for that. Like, they know what they're getting themselves into. Like, your first session with your therapist is basically a brief, you know, like, tell me about you and I'll tell you about me. Like, this is how I conduct therapy. And if the client is like, you know, that's kind of a fit. And I will say she's had like a 99% success rate, from the depressed to the alcoholics to the divorcees to literally anybody problems with their children, like 99% success rate.
Keep her away from me because I don't even know what I need to make a decision on.
But she'll like, you know, she pushes you to recognize your strengths. You know, it kind of like coincides with strength space because you're like, oh shit, like I can actually have a conversation with people that I'm too shy, or wait, I can actually interact in group settings, or wait, I can actually like confront my husband. Like, you can do these things, and in turn it makes you stronger and makes you a better person.
Yeah, I think I'll stick to Freud. I didn't know there was greater evils in this world. I'm okay. No, thank you.
And then you have the behaviorists. So behaviorists are more so for children. They're interested in behaviors like operant and classical conditioning. Do you remember learning about that?
I do.
Yeah. So operant conditioning is like the positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, and negative punishment. And then you have classical conditioning, which is like every time you hear a bell, you'll respond, right?
Right. Oh, what was that called again?
Classical?
No.
Ivan Pavlov's dog?
Pavlov effect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then you have that, and that's more so for children. You're not really going to use that as an adult, but you might in certain situations, more so for like those with substance use and abuse, because they'll have a trigger, right? Like somebody who's an alcoholic might have a trigger every time they see a bar. I remember my professor said that one of their clients was addicted to McDonald's soda. So every time they saw the Golden Arches, Luke is looking at me. But no, this client's addiction was really bad. Like they had to at least have it with them, or they would go and get it every time they saw the Golden Arches. So that was their trigger. So this can be helpful in certain ways, but if you're not looking for that, then don't get a behaviorist therapist. And behaviorist therapists are also for children with autism, because you're trying to teach them things based off of, you know, rewards or punishment and all of that to, you know, make their behavior in line.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, back to our initial stand, though, on these TikTok therapists. All of them are pretty much hacks, yeah?
98% are false. Yes.
Gotcha. So we really need to look out what we're intaking, because I know that sometimes people will use these bad psychology facts to maybe ruin their own lives or relationships because the internet told them so.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would have to say to people who are taking advice from the internet a little too much to heart?
If you're taking advice from the internet too much to heart and you're like Psychology Says, as the Psychology Says ones I've noticed are a lot to deal with like relationships and heartbreak, because that's when it gets you. I want you to just Google it. Like if you're on your phone, just Google it and do Google Scholar and see if there's any actual research on it. And the research, I guarantee you, is so interesting. And you don't even have to read the full research. Just read the abstract. The abstract will tell you like, this was the question we had. This was the research study. These are the people we researched. This is what we concluded. And then if you want to scroll all the way to the bottom of the research study, it will tell you where their biases are, and all literature reviews will tell you where their biases are.
Interesting. I've never even heard of Google Scholar before.
Yeah, Google Scholar is really interesting.
For us non-collegiate educated people, educate us on Google Scholar.
So Google Scholar is where you will be getting published articles that are from professors, that are from doctors, all of these people that have done research studies, that have gotten IRB approval, that have literally gone through a ringer having to get approved and published. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, you don't just get published, you know, you have to go through things and you have to prove, like when you get your PhD, you have to defend your dissertation. You have to say like, why is my research study good? And like, why you guys, you know, it's correct. And so if you're looking at something and you're like, oh, this research study is very interesting, let me look into it, Google Scholar it. You could do love plus relationships plus physical response, and just do that. And then it'll give you a research study that did that.
Wow, that actually sounds a lot more useful than just regular Googling it and finding something on WebMD and thinking I have something weird in my brain.
Yeah. Do Google Scholar. Don't do like just regular Google.
Thank you so much for taking us through our little psychology tour so that we can better scroll through our TikTok pages.
Yeah. And I just want you guys to like know that most therapists we're so open to like answering any questions you may have. And
please post them in the comments. We'll talk about it.
We'll literally talk about it. And I just also want you guys to like reflect is that if somebody really has a PhD or a PsyD or an MA in this field of study, be honest, they're probably not creating a TikTok about it.
Honestly, why would they spend their time on TikTok when they've got clients to take care of?
Yeah, we like not only have clients to take care of, but like we're writing notes. We're slammed with notes. Every single interaction you have with a therapist, we have to write it down. And for legal reasons, of course. And on top of that, like once we're done being therapists, we no longer want to be a therapist. Like we don't want to talk about psychology. We don't want to like have our entire lives revolve around the field. It's a part of us. It's not all of us. Like even Luke was like, why don't you start creating TikToks about psychology? And I'm just like, dude, like it's enough. Like I already do with it during the day. It doesn't have to be like all of me. And so just take that into account too. I'm actually talking about psychology today because we didn't really have anything else to talk about.
Don't call us out like that. We weren't prepared. It's the day after vacation.
Luke is like, you have this special skill. Let's whip it out.
Yeah. I've been waiting for a rainy day for this one when I'm just like, my brain's not working.
Yeah. So always remember that. Take that into account that we're probably not creating content around it.
No. I'll be creating content of her, but that's me trying to get likes.
Yeah.
Using her.
Yeah. And like look into the shit that they're saying. If you think somebody is credible, leave them in the comments and I'll let you know if they're credible off of the first TikTok.
Oh my God. It's like stolen valor for therapists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really frustrating.
Psychologists.
Yeah. It's really frustrating and annoying. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys have any other questions about psychology, therapy, any of that, please let us know. Don't forget to like this video and everything, give us 5-star rating. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Music, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you are looking for a therapist, don't forget, you can go on ZocDoc, you can go on Meet Monarch, and you can also call your insurance company and they will have a list of therapists in your area that they will refer you to that take your insurance, so you don't have to worry about it. You can also go and find like corporate style like therapy places. and asks them if they do sliding scale. And sliding scale is essentially they will ask for your paycheck and see how much, you can afford. So that way therapy is something that you can engage in and it's not stressful when it comes to finances.
And accessible.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone. Join us next time as Nen hops in my coffee mug to #drown the whale.
#drown the whale. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.